This is section 2.2, adding real numbers. To add real numbers, there are certain conventions you have to follow. The first thing is that they have the same sign. You actually add their absolute values, and then putting the sign of both the original numbers in front of the sum that results. Remember, absolute value is a number's distance from 0 on the number line. So negative 5's absolute value would be positive 5, and positive 5's absolute value would be positive 5. It's just pure distance. So there is no negative in absolute values. Absolute values are always positive. The example here is 8 plus 7. Now we all know it's 15 by looking at it, but if you analyze it this way, take the absolute value of both numbers, since they're both positive, then the absolute value is the number itself. So we're actually adding 8 and 7. We get 15, and then we have to decide what sign we put on 15, whether it's negative or positive. Since both numbers were originally positive, then resulting sum is also positive. The same thing happens with negative numbers. If you look at negative 6 plus negative 10, the absolute value of both of those is positive. It's positive 6 and positive 10. When you add those together, it's 16. But then you have to decide what sign to assign to that resulting sum. And since they both originally had a negative, you'll assign a negative. So the answer is negative 16. If you're adding two numbers with different signs, you have to subtract the lesser absolute value from the greater absolute value. The sum, the resulting sum, the answer, will then have the same sign as a number with a greater absolute value. So in negative 12 plus 7, first you find the absolute values. For negative 12 it's 12, and for 7 it's 7. Since 7 is less than 12, you need to subtract it that way. So we're going to do 12 minus 7 to get 5. Okay? The answer should always have the sign of the number with the greater absolute value. 12 has the greater absolute value, and it was originally negative, so your answer should be negative. So negative 12 plus 7 is negative 5. You should try these to yourself. Negative 5.3 plus negative 4.9, and 19.3 plus negative 12.2. In the first case, negative 5.3 plus negative 4.9, if you take the absolute value of both of those, they're both positive. We're going to add those together, and you get 10.2. And 10.2 is the resulting sum, but then you have to assign the sign. The sign should be the sign that the two original numbers were, so it's going to be negative. So it'll be negative 10.2. The second one is harder because you have a positive number and a negative number. Remember, for this, you always take the absolute value of each of them. Okay, we're going to take the absolute value, and then we're going to subtract. We're going to subtract 12.2 from 19.3. Okay, when you do that, you get 7.1. Since 19.3 had a larger absolute value, your resulting answer is positive. You may have in the past done these on a number line. If you find this clearer, you can do it that way as well. That you start at positive 19 and you go to the left 12.2. If you want to visualize it that way, that's actually what you're doing here. Now there are certain properties of addition you have to understand. These properties you will be held responsible for. The first is the commutative property. The commutative property says that you can add things in any order and it will not change the sum. It will not change the answer. So here you see A plus B equals B plus A. It doesn't matter in what order we add these numbers, you will get the same answer. Think of it as commuting, moving from one place to another. If you move these numbers to a different place, it doesn't change the answer. The associative property says the way you group numbers does not change the sum. So in our example here, they take the sum of the quantity of A plus B and add it to C, and they say that that's also equal to A plus the quantity of B plus C. It doesn't matter how you associate the numbers and which way you group them, you will always get the same answer. The identity property says that the sum of 0 and a number is that number. So you can add 0 to any number and you get the original number. So A plus 0 equals A. And the inverse property says the sum of a number and its opposite is 0. So A plus the opposite of A is 0. 5 plus the opposite of 5 is 0. X plus the opposite of X is 0. Let's take a look at this problem. This shows the annual profits of 2 piano manufacturers, and they want to know which manufacturer has the greater total profit for the 3 years. So you can see the years listed on the side. We're going to look at 3 years. The profits for A are in column 2. The profits for B are in column 3. To calculate total profit, you would add the profits for those 3 years. You'll see in one of the years, year 1, both companies had a negative profit. A negative profit is called a loss. Okay, so they took a loss. But we're going to add those 3 numbers together. You can see just by looking at it that the positive values in year 2 and 3, which represent the profit, are greater absolute value-wise than the loss that they took in year 1. So you know that manufacturer A and manufacturer B are both going to make a profit over the 3-year term. It's going to be positive. When I added those together, I got that manufacturer A has a profit of $9.7 million, while B had a profit of $9.6 million. That means that manufacturer A is the more profitable company. It made more money, even though they both lost money the first year. And if you take a look at it, you can see that A actually lost less money because the absolute value in year 1 of negative 5.8 is less than the absolute value of manufacturer B in year 1 of 6.5. So you can analyze it a lot of different ways, but the easiest way is to just go straight down the column, add the total, and see which one has the greater number.